Saw a great article and a video yesterday when I was doing some research online, and it was really the overriding effect that all of this Epstein stuff will have on the British institution, the royal family, government, members of government, other individuals, celebrities, contacts, you name it. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And of course, we centre in on Andrew and other people, but a lot of comments on the channel have said, well, what about Charlie, King Charles? And something came up in the Epstein files, which has made the news, and I wanted to share that with you, and it's this here. King Charles' aide oversaw royal protection at Epstein's home, emails claim. So an aide to the king oversaw royal protection at Epstein's home. The revelation comes as the US Department of Justice released over 3 million files relating to Jeffrey Epstein. King Charles's aide is believed to have overseen royal protection at Jeffrey Epstein's home, according to the latest emails that have been released. Peter Loughborough, who currently serves as Lord Steward to King Charles, has become embroiled in the Epstein scandal following revelations about two Metropolitan Police protection officers who appear to have resided at the convicted offender's New York property for over a week. Mr. Loughborough, then commanding Scotland Yard's Royalty and Diplomatic Protection Unit, allegedly supervised the decision permitting the elite officers to accept Epstein's hospitality while guarding the then Prince Andrew during a 2010 US trip. So 16 years ago. The financier has already served an 18-month prison sentence after being convicted of soliciting the P word from a minor in June 2008. Recently released US Department of Justice files disclose that the officers seemingly stayed at Epstein's 7-story Manhattan townhouse, with correspondence showing the late Epstein personally offered to house the policeman. One of the Met police officers, you've got the Met who stepped in and said that they weren't comfortable with certain things being released, and you get a picture of why. So one of the Met police officers was provided with a temporary security code granting both guards unrestricted access to the £43 million property on 71st Street. Email exchanges appear to show that 3 days before Andrew's arrival, Epstein inquired whether accommodation was needed for security personnel. The then Prince confirmed he had 2 officers requiring rooms in New York. Andrew's former private secretary, Amanda Thirsk, separately contacted Epstein's executive assistant, Leslie Groff, to confirm space for both protection officers at the residence. Emails allege officer Julian Phillips reached the mansion on November the 28th, a day ahead of Andrew and his second PPO, who landed on November the 29th. The party remained until December the 6th or 7th, the emails appear to show. The townhouse featured a massage room decorated with paintings of scantily clad women and containing lubricant bottles, was regularly visited by girls, and is believed to have been the location of numerous crimes. Mr. Loughborough, a hereditary peer and 7th Earl of Roslin, was reportedly Queen Elizabeth's favourite policeman before departing the Met in 2014 to become Master of the Household to Charles, then Prince of Wales. You got the email here from the Duke to Jeffrey Epstein, dated 2010, confirm ETA at JFK is 1340. Do you want me to organise the consulate to bring me to what number in 71st Street? No, I will have you picked up. Do you need a room for a security person? And you can see more information there from the other emails. He was elevated to Lord Steward and personal secretary to the King and Queen, 2023. Fresh disclosures also seem to show Andrew stayed at Epstein's Luxury Avenue Foch apartment in Paris twice during 2009, while Epstein remained under house arrest In September 2009, the prince wrote to Epstein, "I have to go to Paris this coming weekend. It's a private weekend and I'm already booked into a hotel. But on the off chance that you would allow me to use your apartment, it would be really great from a number of perspectives." Following a second stay, Andrew seemed to thank Epstein for the use of your wonderful apartment in Paris. Staff from Epstein's household previously recalled observing British police officers accompanying Andrew during his visits to the Paris property. Mr. Phillips, who served more than 3 decades with the Met, was awarded a member of the Royal Victorian Order in 2023 for services to the royal household. When approached for comment, he declined to respond to questions. A Metropolitan Police spokesperson stated protection officers are held to the same high standards of professional behaviour as other police officers. They know their actions will be open to scrutiny. While we do not comment on matters relating to protective security, we can confirm that at this time we have not identified any wrongdoing by any protection officers in relation to these matters. A palace source indicated the matters concerning Mr. Loughborough's police career were for the Met to address, adding that such a deployment would not have required his direct approval. So, you know, people linked, well, now to King Charles were on site. And I refer you to omission, which we discuss quite regularly with regard to certain acts. You wonder who really knew what, when, how. And this isn't going away by any stretch. I want to show you a video of crowd reaction and a short piece from Sky News about King Charles and what is actually going on. Let's bring this up on the screen.
The Epstein investigation.
See, question right there. Epstein investigation. Now Charles will ignore that.
Well, let's go live to our royal correspondent, Rhiannon Mills, who is in Dedham as well. And Rhiannon, as ever on these visits, the royal family will not like the fact that they are being asked questions about something pertaining to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew.
That's right, but it's inevitable, and really I think as a family they know that this is what's potentially going to happen. They've been through many difficult periods in terms of family matters, and more often than not they will be thrown a question, but as is the usual case, again, the King today deciding to ignore it, because I think for the King and Queen, they would say that their priority today was to meet and greet as many of the people here who turned out. The weather is terrible, and yet people have turned out in their hundreds to come and enjoy what ultimately was meant to be a really nice royal visit, celebrating local pubs, celebrating the local community. But this is the really hard thing for the royal family at the moment. I think there is no doubt a sense of relief that last year the King did take the ultimate action, stripping his brother of his titles, moving him out of Royal Lodge, and of course we saw that actually happen this week. Andrew now a resident of Norfolk. But those questions still continue to swirl around Andrew as we continue to see more of those files simply being released, and also people saying, well, what more could the King do? What was quite interesting for me is I spoke to a number of people who were in the crowd afterwards, a lot of them pointing to the fact that, yeah, the monarchy is an institution, but actually this is a family matter as well, and that's why it must be quite difficult for the King, but also saying that ultimately it is Andrew who has those questions to answer, but also some of them saying, look, he hasn't been charged with any criminal offences yet, and in some ways saying, look, we need to see the process unfold and more of those papers being released before final judgments are made in many ways. But yeah, it is no doubt that it continues to be a really difficult time for the King, and certainly speaking to those inside the palace who I'm close to, they have said they don't want it to seem that the royal family are ignoring this. They are not, and in some ways what was helpful for them earlier in the week, and actually the King and Queen are just driving past now. and away from then to the few of us who were standing around. But for them, look, that's the whole point about today has been about shining a light on this local community, but also speaking to those inside the palace. They really wanted to underpin to me that they do not want people to think that they are completely ignoring this. They're not burying their heads in the sand. But what was helpful for them was the fact that it was Prince Edward, Andrew's younger brother, who earlier in the week, during a trip to Dubai, was actually bounced into answering something about the Epstein scandal, was asked, how are your family coping? And again, he brought it back, saying we must remember the victims. And also the palace continued to point me towards that statement that was released in October, when Andrew was stripped of his titles, moved out of Royal Lodge, saying that the King and Queen, their utmost thoughts remain with the victims and the survivors. So yeah, it continues to be a really difficult time, full of jeopardy for the royal family, but I think what we're just going to continue to see is them eyes front, carrying on with their job as much as they can.
Well, I think that's pretty much the way the royal family have always been, even in the Queen's time, you know, never complain, never explain, statements, and, you know, it continues. But as I said, when you look at the content of the files and you search the names of well-known people in them, including who we're talking about, you think, my God. And there's going to be more. You know, the British institution as we know it, I think eventually, if it's not already, is going to be in all sorts of deep trouble. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share my stuff, and I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo.